Good morning, everybody. So, day 164 and 18 hours and 3 minutes and 22 seconds. I'm a little bit late this morning. We're on a different system again. Hopefully, it's coming up live and it'll roll all the way through. I just want to start with this because there's a few things I noticed when people watching comments and stuff, things going on Facebook and so on. This is how to follow the race, obviously, and there's these little boxes here that you can click to link through to anything. So entrance satellite calls, daily reports that Seb does, the written daily reports, my trackers, what we're doing now, and so on. But one of the fun ones that some people don't know about is this summary highlights. Now, this is the I'm just clicked on that. This is the entire Golden Globe race in a quick summary feed. So you can see at the top there, I don't know whether you can read it, but it shows you the Les Sables d'Olonne starts September the 4th. Bay of Biscay, Edward retires. 14th of September, Guy Debord reports narrowly avoided collision. Lanzarote, Simon Kerwin, first to pass the Lanzarote film gate. Tapio, it just lists everything. Oh, red one. Guy Debord crashes into rocks. Lanzarote, you can go through the whole race and pick up, Mark Sinclair, he's out, retired. Guy Rates reports the hull of Sagarmatha covered in barnacles. And so if you want a quick grab on what's been going on in the GGR, or you've missed a few weeks and you're trying to catch up, it's all actually here. So that orange one, Cape Town, Pat Lawless arrives in Cape Town, retiring from the GGR. And so it goes. Oh, another red one. Damien Galoo arrives in Cape Town Marina, officially retiring from the GGR. So you can see there's the whole lot. And there's the sinking of Tapio, Kirsten's involvement, and so on. It goes all the way down, and everything's happening. Boom, 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 boom. And we're getting closer, talking about Hobart there. Michael Guggenberger, fourth place, passes Hobart. Fremantle, Australia, Elliot Smith is out. So just remember, that's quite fun. If you want to catch up or you want a quick overview to check back on a date when something's happening, we usually get it up to date within a few days. So this has got February the 15th, northwest of Cape Horn. Abelish Tommy reports that he's lost his last pendulum rudder on his wind vane. So that's up to last night. Rob does that over in England. Rob does all our website and videos and bits and pieces. So just remember that course summary. It's a bit of fun. So now we'll go back to the tracker and we'll zoom back here and we'll give you a bit of an overview. A lot happening, of course, and Kirsten was the first one around Cape Horn. And but anyway, we'll save the big ones till last. We'll come over here and look at Ian and Jeremy. So to right now, Ian is making reasonable time, 4.7 in that northerly. He's not going to be enjoying that if it was for a long time, but it's a short time because he likes to go a bit more with the wind. And now you've got to take it on the beam because the zone is right next to him. So I'll just pick this up a bit, and you can see what's happening here. So that's quite a solid breeze. There's 28 knots, probably gusting 35 or higher, and sea state will be about sort of 4 or 5 metres. Jeremy's enjoying a bit better ride. He had some frustrations yesterday, but 6.2 knots at the moment, doing 97 miles in the last 24 hours, coming back on track, making better use of the rum line towards Cape Horn. So weather forecasting now, you can see it's dominated by that big high. This is what's going to affect both of them. And this lot is the back end of the cyclone that went through New Zealand that's now sort of bumped into this high. It's just squashed up and created a bit of a wind gradient. So if we come through for 24 hours, you can see it's all coming northwest. A little bit of that follow over from the cyclone. So Jeremy's got a good direction sailing. It'll be quite fast, and no complaints there. Pushing it along a bit to the 18th, similar deal. Both of them have got a good breeze, so they'll make good time for that 18th and 19th. That's 3 days out. 3 days out. They're still sailing fast. There's nothing there. Let's see what happens with this one if we just push it over a little bit. No, it's just actually they'll be over here sometime, so that could start to influence them. By the 19th, they'll be quite a bit further down, but it's too far ahead. Generally speaking, for these guys, they've got reasonably good sailing for the next few days, so no complaints there. I cannot believe Captain Goog. Watch this. So he's having a great ride at the moment. No complaints. He's doing 6.3 knots, 155 nautical mile a day again. I'm going to shrink it back so you can see how the weather is developing. So we'll just focus on Goog on this one, and then I'll just keep bouncing it through, and you can see what's going to happen. So that's all good breezes for Goog. And this is coming through for one day. Everything goes underneath him. He's still heading for Cape Horn, making good time, following breezes, anywhere from 20 to 30 knots. All very cool and groovy. He doesn't get any of the heavy stuff. It all passes underneath him. In the meantime, he's actually coming down here. He's riding the top of this, but still making great time. Nothing too extreme. C might have got up to 4.5 metres or something. All of that's good direction. So we're now into the 18th. So it's a couple of days there. Then the big kick from behind. Wind direction is still all perfect, all from the northwest. That's exactly what you want. This might get the sea up a little bit, but it's not what I call a big storm. That's forecasting low 30s, gusting 40, maybe 5. Well, in fact, let's have a look at the sea. Let's have a look at the sea, what the sea's going to be doing there. Waves, it's going to be, 5, maybe 6 metres, but, it's all really about the wind direction. So he'll be down here at this stage, doing pretty well. That's the 19th. So what do we got? 17, 19, 3 days. So we'll just do a distance on here for 450 miles, just so you can see where he might be. So he's going to be right down here by then, in about 3 days. Okay, so he's around about here, with the wind finally catching up to him. And so it goes. So keep working it through. No big storms. Keeps coming. So we're now up into the 20th. There's a little bit of power coming in this one, but it's still not a big deal. But that will impact him about there, and that's probably going to be forecast 30, gusting 45, maybe 50, but it's over very quickly, just a puff. All right. And the sea won't get a chance to build up to extreme because it's so quick. And then it's still all northwesterly. Now we're coming into the 21st. This is like 5 days away. And you can see there's still nothing. The 22nd. It's starting to get interesting now. So if this is the 22nd, so that's 6 days away. That's 6, 7, 8. He's going to be 800 miles ahead of this. So yeah, he's going to be around about here at this time. So and that could be some fun. I'm not going to push it further because this could all change by then. But basically, he's got another week of what I would call, for this part of the world, perfect Southern Ocean weather. So, and if he pulls that off, it means he's literally, from the time he left Hobart to here, he's just been riding a dream. So someone is absolutely looking after Captain Good right now, and he's sailing well, and the boat's in good condition. His preparation was pretty immaculate, and it's a pretty cool boat. So, so that's Goog's story. Okay, now Simon's still stuck there. You can see this really obvious and very strong southerly airflow. He doesn't want to move. He's just sitting tight and waiting for the decision to take off out here. He's getting local weather forecast, so coastal stuff. So that's all he needs to know, and that's enough to say stay put. So that's Simon's story. Kirsten's story is a great one. She went around in what I'd call, again, perfect conditions for Cape Horn. She got to within about 5 miles of it. She had a good look. And it looks like now she's actually heading up through Stretto de la Mer, which is just, it may not be. The wind's just filled in a little bit more for her. But I just talk about this, I've been through here myself. She would have done it plenty of times. She knows it really well. She was planning to go leave it to port and go past and go right around the Falklands and up. But this wind is pretty solid, and the sea will be building up, even though usually it's a lot calmer. And they're all issues because you have a very strong tidal flow there. All the stuff in the tidal coming this way, it bunches up, it like funnels through here, and the same when it's going the other way. I had a very interesting experience there where it's running like 5-6 knots at times, and Captain Coconut, when he went through, same deal. I had a wind and tide against there, and it just goes crazy. But nonetheless, it's giving us the impression that in this current wind, she may be headed that way. We'll just have to wait and see. It'll be opportunistic to see how the weather changes. So to focus that through, and we'll treat Abelish as a separate story in a minute, and I'll give you the lowdown on what's happening with him. So as it goes, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, it's swinging the other way. So it's definitely going south, and she will have lost some. She will be a bit further north, so she may change her mind. We'll just have to wait and see. She may go through there, or she may just run down the coast. But then you're on a lee shore. Again, she'll be close in on a lee shore. But it is backing off, so that's the main thing for her. And then I'm going to pan back now just to show you what to expect and talk a little bit about what goes on in this part of the world out here, everything that's going on. So we'll keep toggling this through so you can see what she's up against. So this is now pretty much next day, the last 24 hours is going to go light, and then generally there's a high pressure system forming above her, which she won't want to interact with. So even so, if she did go through the Stretch de la Mer, she'll then run off and around here, around the Falklands, no doubt. She'll just be riding the weather. So that's pretty straightforward. And then what do we got here? Yeah, a bit patchy. Gets a bit patchy and crazy, but look what's coming up here. This is something that a lot of people don't realise, and I'll bring this over to Windy at the moment. You see how intense that blow is, and that's what can happen up here. But I'll talk about Abolish first, and then we'll just come back to this, and I'll give you a bit of a weather brief on this part of the world, which they're all going to get to. We all focus on getting around Cape Horn, and then you say, oh, great, we're around Cape Horn. I've got to tell you, you're still in the furious 50s here, and all hell can break loose. So it's not over yet, but it's great to get around Cape Horn. So if we look at Abolish now, I'll bring it back to today's weather. You've probably seen the post that Seb put up early hours of the morning. Abolish did tack eventually, so he came in here, did a tack. He was about 10 miles off the coast here. That's about 10 miles. And he was fully aware of where he was, and he knew what the weather was, so really this was a safety ploy. He tacked and ran for quite a few hours out to the northwest just to give him breathing space. And as expected, the wind moderated very quickly, and that's what's happening now. So he's tacked back across. It's certainly a lot safer course that he's got at the moment, and he's only doing, he's picked up about 5.1 knots, what he got, 86 miles in the last 24 hours. He was moving quite fast as he's coming in here. But you'll see what happens to the weather now, and he knows this is coming. I'll just push it through. It'll very quickly change to the southwest and then goes quiet. You can see here, this is about 12 hours later, and all of a sudden, bingo, it's all coming from the northwest. And then Abolish will be on a big roll. So if I now pan back so you can see where he's going, distance from the Horn, he's about 250, I think. Let's just see here. That's 256 from there, but he's got to go a bit around that. So he's like 260, 270. Say 270 or 280 miles he's got to travel to get there. And he pretty much might get that whole thing in this next weather, in this new weather that's coming. We'll just see. That means he needs at least 2.5, 3 days of this. And that's fast sailing. That's all favourable wind direction. He's now into day one. And this is then a light easterly. It'll be very pleasant. So this is coming up to day 2. So that's not too bad. Solid norwesterly, again, that's solid, but it's not extreme. That's probably 28 to 30 knots gusting, high 30s, maybe up to 40, but I think it'll be high 30s. But that's typical Southern Ocean weather, and he's starting to move into day 3. By the time he gets to this lot, he's getting very close to Cape Horn, okay? And the wind direction there is a westerly, just to blow him around the corner. And then there's another, increasing westerly up to 30 knots to blow him around. So he's now moving into the 20th already, and the 20th he's around by then. He's now heading up. So it looks as if Abolish is getting a clean ride. Now the situation with his wind vane, as you know, he built a spare servo rudder, another one, the last one, out of his toilet door, and then that didn't work. So he built it didn't work for so long. I'm not sure how long he tried it for. And then his next move was to build one out of his spare emergency rudder. Everyone's required to carry an emergency rudder on board, so it sounds as if he's chopped that up a bit. It's a big rudder. It's not a huge rudder, but it's quite a bit bigger than, massive compared to the servo rudder. So he would have to cut about a quarter of it off and somehow fashion the blade in there. Now, last night, Abolish was thinking the toilet door may not last, and apparently it didn't. So he'd done one, and even this one, he's saying as long as it lasts for about 3 days or so. And the reason for that is we had some very real conversations about Chichester class and what he will do going forward. He hasn't decided. There's not any options anywhere along here to do much. There's a possibility in here, but it's still not a good one, right, to come into Ushuaia and bits and pieces. It's a lot easier if you get around here. You can go back to Ushuaia or Falklands, or keep going all the way to Les Sables d'Olonne. So it's just a conversation that took place. It'll all be determined by how reliable and how long he can keep the servo blade in place, So there's a few little issues there. He's not completely out of the woodwork, but the good news is he's sailing, and let's hope he can sail all the way to Les Sables d'Olonne. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, so I think we've covered off on everyone here. Oh, I'll just show you that situation. I'll just pan back here just to keep the reference, and we'll talk about what goes on here. Everyone seems to, even as an entrant, you can get really fooled, oh, great, out of the Southern Ocean. And certainly when you get out of the Southern Ocean, you feel a lot more relaxed because you've been there for months. And and the water does change. This is the first thing you notice. Your total swell's not quite the same. It's a completely different feeling. It's like the Atlantic swells coming back, and it happens very fast here because you're so close to the Argentinian Chilean coast. So that's what's happened to Kirsten. But you got to get right up towards Rio, and you got to be right up here into the 30s before you get out of the woodwork. In this zone here, which they sort of call the horse latitudes and roaring 40s and 50s, because this is still the roaring 40s here. Remember, there's Cape Town there. See, it puts it into perspective. And all hell can break loose here. You can get huge storms here. And this little one that's forming there, just to come back to it, I'll take you to Windy. Here it is here. So this is Sunday the 18th. And at 10 Zulu. So the wind strength, the forecast wind is south 50 knots. Okay, and this is a classic circular low pressure system, and wind gusts, you hit wind gusts and you're up to 75 knots. So, and these things move around a bit, and they're very unreliable in their track because they've got various options that they can move. They can go all over the place. So just to remind everyone that just because you're around Cape Horn, you're not actually out of the woodwork yet. You've got to get quite a bit higher when you get into the trades of the South Atlantic. So all is good. Thanks for that. We'll see you tomorrow.